Hey, what's going on everyone? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another Steve Rising video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a build guide for Ning Fei. We'll be discussing his abilities, what they do, and how to make the most out of them, as well as looking at the best artifacts that I think that you can run them, that give you a lot of survivability with constant healing, as well as giving you tons of damage buffs for all your abilities, and specifically, making your weapons very strong. I feel like Ning Fei is a very underrated pick right now, but he actually can put out some crazy amounts of burst damage, and also a lot of ad clear with all his lightning. And besides that, he's just a very fun character with all the movement abilities he's got in his kit, that once you actually start to experiment with the abilities, I think you're gonna fall in love with the gameplay loop. So if you've been struggling to get the most out of Ning Fei, especially for those in-game activities, then this is gonna be the perfect build for you. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, remember to like and subscribe to the channel in case you guys haven't already for some more Destiny Rising content. So let's get into it, and first we're going to start with a quick overview of his abilities, so we're all on the same page. And we're going to be starting off with the passive. His passive is Dance of Sparks. Chain lightning damage inflicted from Ning Fei and his clones are also going to inflict Arc Disarray. Arc Disarray is a debuff that you can stack on enemies, and whenever you stack it up to 3 times, it will trigger Arc Tremors, which is going to make it chain lightning to any enemies in a 10-meter radius. So this passive is basically all about doing a bunch of ad clear. As long as we're building up the Arc Disarray on enemies, we're constantly going to be chain lightning between all of them in a pretty big radius. 10 meters is definitely quite a huge area, especially when enemies spawn in groups. You can pretty much just destroy all of them immediately thanks to this passive as well. Now his first signature ability, Lightning Strike, is a very simple one. You jump up into the air and smash the targets in front of you. This is a big AoE ability, so it doesn't use effect on an enemy or affect wherever you land, so it's really good for dealing with groups of targets. And any enemy hit by this ability will also get the corrupt debuff placed on them. This debuff is gonna stop enemies from being able to recover health, so if they have any health recovery abilities, they just won't be able to recover any. And it also increases the amount of damage that they take for a short period of time. So this is a very versatile ability. You can use it for ad clear and just clearing groups of ads, or you can also use it for the corrupt buff and just making killing those bigger targets a little bit easier. And the coolest part of this ability is that if you do have some clones out there, whenever you activate Lightning Strike, your clones will also do their own Lightning Strike, adding more damage, adding more ad clear, and also repositioning themselves wherever you activated the Lightning Strike. And when you can get multiple clones out there at once, just getting one of these out there is going to be doing lots and lots of damage. His second signature, Side Trick, is how you make those clones that we just talked about. Whenever you activate the ability, you create a clone. These clones are just constantly going to attack whichever enemies are chaining to them, and they're also going to be chaining some lightning with those attacks. And whenever you are near a clone, you gain both acceleration, so you move faster, as well as damage resistance. The damage resistance specifically is really good, because we can just make so many of these clones that we're always just out there just taking less damage. And whenever the clones deal damage, they'll heal themselves as well as you. So this also gives you a bit of healing, but it's not a huge amount. It really is just for being able to take the aggro away from enemies, because the enemies do target the clones as well as the synergy that is got with Lightning Strike. If you have both of your abilities up, you always want to activate your Side Trick first, so you can actually take advantage of that extra damage from the clone also doing the Lightning Strike. Overall, I just really like these clones. They definitely add a lot more to your survivability, and the healing, while it's not a lot, it definitely helps you out as well. And both of these abilities are actually movement abilities, so you actually just kind of fly around the battlefield. His whole kit is very fast, very fun, and very mobile. For the super, we have Arts of Staff, and with this one, you basically can just melee a bunch of enemies while chaining lightning. It can actually output a very good amount of damage. The only problem with his super is that it feels like it's really short. But one really good thing about it is that you seem like to be able to use this quite a lot. It seems like you get the super back really quickly. So whenever you see a big enemy, pop it, start doing some damage, and if there's any smaller enemies next to the big enemy, the chain lightning will be able to just take care of them. And if you have any clones out there, whenever you pop your super, it also will increase their damage as well, and they can also use the block. So if you need to block with your super, if you're trying to stay alive, that is something you can do as well. Most of the time though, you're probably not going to be blocking, you're just going to be using this for damage. Our first relic trait, Mind Melt, will make it so whenever you defeat a target with Lightning Strike, it fully refunds your Side Trick ability, and this is another reason why you always want to start off with this ability first, before you start doing your Lightning Strike. because if you do get a kill with your lightning strike, it's gonna immediately come off cooldown and you'll be able to use it again to gain more stacks for chaining lightning, and also for just having a whole nother clone out there, taking aggro from the enemies, doing damage, healing you, and just giving you some damage assistance. It seems that this applies to both you and the clone's lightning strike damage, so if you don't have just enough damage to kill it, but the clone does, it will still fully refund your ability. This is gonna be amazing. You essentially just add more abilities to your rotation, so you can keep just proccing all those things that we have that just give us extra damage, give us extra healing whenever we use our abilities. And that's without even taking into account all the great things Side Trick does. Our second trait, Arc of Perfection, it essentially just increases your super damage. If you hit a target with Arcs of Staff consecutively within 5 seconds, the damage will increase. Each consecutive hit dealing 10% more damage up to 100% more damage. So this just gives your super even more damage when you're fighting one singular target. So any boss, any Shinka that you're fighting, is going to be taking more damage towards later on in the super. And the final trait is the Lightning Fast Reload. Casting any signature ability will give us Lightning Fast Reload, which is, well, just like the name says, gives you Lightning Fast Reload. It increases the speed of your next reload by 100%. And every time you use one of your signature abilities, you get this for a couple of seconds. And since we're going to be doing so many of them, this is just something we constantly have, just constantly reloading our weapons faster. This is very good, and it definitely works really well with Ning Fei's whole playstyle of being quick and fast. And lastly, we're going to have the Weapon Mastery, which is going to have essentially upgraded passives, like add clearing capabilities with the Chain Lightning to a whole nother level. Whenever you use any ability, you gain 6 overload stacks. Arc overload stats will allow your weapon to increase damage, 20% of the weapon's hit damage, and it will also chain to 4 combatants within a 4-meter radius. And you can stack this effect up to 24 times. And this is not something that goes away like some of the other weapon masteries. As long as you don't fire your weapon at enemies, you can just keep these stacks. If you see any Ning Fei gameplay, or you played Ning Fei for a bit, you may have noticed that he just has a bunch of damage numbers on the screen going off at once when there's a lot of enemies. That is because of Arc Overload. You just chain so much lightning, essentially just hitting so many enemies. So many enemies are gonna get hit by this, and just everything is taking damage. And this is the reason that he's just so good at doing very fast damage very quickly. He has very big bursts of damage thanks to Arc Overload that just destroy rooms of enemies, or can also just do some very high damage initially on some bigger targets. Especially because as you level up Arc Overload, it just keeps increases damage up and more. At the point that I have it right now, which is level 4, it's doing 40% on my weapon damage, as well as being able to actually do Overload Disarray, which makes it so it does Overload Tremors, which is a very similar thing as our passive, where if we stack it up 3 times, it does a lightning strike that hits enemies within a 10-meter radius, except that it adds even more damage and even more add clear to our Ning Fei. And the best part about not only the weapon mastery, but also the passive, is just how well they're integrated into his kit. You don't really have to think about it, it's just something that happens, and I think that really works well with Ning Fei's playstyle and just character as a whole, I think. Now for the weapons you want to run on this, the Mahama Yuri is just too cracked right now to ignore. I know that you can also get, for your primary slot, you could get the Risk Winner, which can work, and you know the Chain Lightning does have some synergy. But the Mahama Yuri, bro, this thing just does some crazy amounts of damage. The exotic perk is that it actually fires a 3-round volley, so unlike other crossbows, it fires 3 with hit fire. So it's very good for just outputting a ton of damage if something's really up close and can get hit by all the bolts, or you gotta deal with multiple targets at once. Because the second exotic perk makes those hipfire bolts over penetrate, so it can actually hit multiple targets. And also, whenever you do aim the weapon down, you have increased precision damage. This lets you just melt some of the big enemies, and also people, when you go to shifting gates. If you have been shifting gates with Ning Fei's, they're probably all using the Mahama Yuri, because this thing is really crazy. It outputs a crazy amount of damage, and is definitely the weapon that I recommend that you run on your Ning Fei. If you guys haven't gotten this, it drops in the first encounter in the raid, so it shouldn't be too difficult to get, even with just the matchmaking. Now let's take a look at the artifacts that you should be looking for when playing Ning Fei. For this first one, I tried a couple different ones, but I ended up really liking either Abundant Plantissimo. This gives you healing every second for 5 seconds after using your signature abilities, and since that's something that we can actually spam quite a bit, we can actually get it to those 3 stacks and just constantly get that healing. So if you're looking for constant healing, even if it's not that fast at the beginning, this is gonna be the way to go. Now if you want the opposite, you want a big chunk of health just right out the gate, then the healing Plantissimo might be what you want to go for. Whenever you're casting the ability, you get a big chunk of health. And this sounds great, especially with all the abilities we're going to be spamming, but the downside of this one is that it does have a cooldown on the ability activation. It only activates every 10 seconds, so you're not just going to constantly proc that big healing every time you use an ability. So those are the 2 that I'm going to recommend for this slot. I think both of those are going to work pretty well. Now for the next one, we're going to have Healing Veil. Whenever we cast a movement ability, it instantly restores 9.6% health. Now, this is basically the best ability we have. This is just constantly going to be healing us because both of our signature abilities actually are considered movement abilities. So every time we cast anything, we just immediately restore some health. And this one, unlike the other one, doesn't really have a built-in cooldown, so every time we cast those abilities, we're always just constantly going to be healing. This one right here is amazing, and you definitely want to have it in this slot. For the third one, I'm going to recommend that you go with the Rampaging Pack. Whenever you summon one of your clones, it's going to give you increased damage for 6 seconds. This one's going to be really good with all the clones that we're making, so we're always going to be getting increased damage because of that. And it actually gives us quite a big chunk of increased damage, especially compared to some of the other things we can activate here. It's definitely going to be very good. And the best thing about it is that it's increased damage for everything, so it's not just weapon or signature abilities, it's for everything. And the last one I'm going to recommend that you run is Bellicose Plantissimo, which is going to increase your weapon damage whenever you cast a signature ability. This one's going to be really good, it's very strong, and again, it just adds more weapon damage, so it works really well with our passive as well, just constantly chaining lightning. Another option for this slot can be Valiant Veil as well, because both their abilities are movement abilities, and it gives a damage increase just across the board. It's not really limited to use our weapons, so this one was not as high. It definitely has some value here as well, and some of you guys maybe enjoy this one a little more. But the damage bonus also doesn't last as long, so I decided to go with Bellicose Plantissimo because of that. So these artifacts here together will give you some big chunks of healing back every time you use your abilities, will constantly give you healing after that, just for having activated those abilities, and then every time you activate more abilities, you get both more damage for your weapon specifically, and just damage in general. And he already has a lot of damage also just built into his relic abilities with the weapon mastery, so you're going to be running through ads very quickly and just doing so much damage. He does so much damage with that crossbow. Besides that, he's just a very fun character. The gameplay loop of having all these movement abilities and just basically sweeping all around the map and the arena that you're playing with is just very fun and also very effective with all that damage that you're putting out. So hopefully you guys give Ning Fei a try. I know he's mostly talked about when it comes to like shifting gates and crucible, but he can definitely put in the work and use regular PvE as well, since that's where I pretty much use them all this time. So hopefully you guys enjoy the build and it actually ends up helping you. If you guys would like to see a specific character, now that we ran through the mythics I have, I'm just going to start choosing some of the 4 stars. So make sure that you tell me your favorite one in the comments below, and that might actually end up being the next video. Anyways, thank you for watching, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.